Well, good evening and welcome back to Memories of a Musician. Tonight we have a great program for you featuring a very dear friend of mine, Jim Guerra. And Jim is a saxophonist and a teacher, composer, arranger. He's got a fantastic career. He's had a fantastic career. He's kind of like in the same position as me, that pretty much he's retired for most of what he has done over the years. But we're going to bring him on in a few minutes. I'm going to first like to play something for you that he composed. It's a song called Dear John, and it's on 2 albums that he made. He has done 3 albums of all his original jazz music. This one is called Hold Me. That's one of them. And the other one that this song is on is this one, which is the music of Jim Guerra. This is a double CD. And the song is called Dear John. And I believe it's a tribute to Dr. John Wilson, who was a mentor for Jim. And Jim played in his big band and things like that. Unfortunately, John passed away. He was in his 90s. I don't know the exact age. I'm sure Jim will know that, but he was in his 90s, and I think he died maybe a year ago or so, not that long ago. I knew Dr. Wilson myself because when I was a student at Duquesne University, my senior year, he came in as the director of bands, and so he conducted our symphonic band at that year. And so anyhow, this Dear John, the story here is kind of interesting. Most of you know that, besides playing the piano, I played accordion, was my first instrument. And Jim called me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to come out to this recording studio?" I think it was George Hyde's studio in Aspinwall, and record on this song, Dear John. I'd like you to play accordion and maybe do a little jazz solo. I thought, wow, that's cool. I've never been asked to do that before, so I was happy to do that. I can't remember the year, but again, Jim, I'm sure will tell us. So here's Dear John, and you're going to hear a clip of this that's going to have, the first part is going to be Jim's alto sax solo, and then it goes into the accordion solo. It's pretty self-explanatory when you hear and see it. Here we go. And there you go. Dear John, that of course was just maybe a minute and a half or so of the whole recording, but all of Jim's recordings are available at your favorite streaming service, and you can stream them, download them, whatever you want. And so the three albums, Hold Me, you saw that cover, and you saw the cover for the music of Jim Guerra, and there's a third one called Along Came Mitch, and that his grandson, his youngest grandson, who was actually just had his confirmation the other day, and saw some nice pictures with Jimmy and Pat and in there. So before I bring Jim out, I want to read this little bit of a background about Jim, and then we'll go on from there. Let me see here. I don't want to mess this up. Okay. Jim Guerra has been an active woodwind performer and educator since his graduation from the Berklee School of Music. Mr. Guerra performs extensively with various artists and organizations throughout the Pittsburgh area, actually the tri-state area, you might say again, for those not from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, our tri-state area. Once a member of the U.S. Navy show band, he has performed with the Buddy Rich Band, Manhattan Transfer, the Glenn Miller Orchestra, Lena Horne, Lou Rawls, the Woody Herman Band, Rosemary Clooney, Roger Humphreys, Michelle Legrand, and the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra. He also traveled with the New York Touring Company's production of They're Playing Our Song. In addition to playing on CD recordings for John Wilson's Big Band, as well as the 21st Century Swing Band and Nancy Wilson, both of which were recorded at the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild. Locally, Mr. Guerra is the founder, leader, and musical arranger for Pittsburgh's Sax Pack, a saxophone quartet underscored with bass and guitar. He is also the leader of the almost famous Little Big Band. I love that. Almost famous Little Big Band, and is a member of the John Wilson Big Band. In addition, Mr. Guerra is affiliated with numerous local organizations such as the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, the Civic Light Opera Orchestra, and the Pittsburgh Ballet Orchestra. As an educator, Mr. Guerra has retired from the adjunct faculty at Duquesne University. He's retired from the Rogers School for the Creative and Performing Arts and CAP, the City High School of Pittsburgh for the Creative and Performing Arts. In addition to private lesson instruction, Mr. Guerra is responsible for directing and founding various jazz programs and ensembles within these music departments, as well as for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association and chairperson for the City Music Center. In order to promote jazz education in the schools, he continually performs concerts for the Music Performance Trust Fund. That's part of the American Federation of Musicians. Throughout the years, Mr. Guerra has studied extensively with distinguished music teachers, including Joe Viola, Charlie Marino, Phil Wilson, John Laporta, David Liedman, John H. Wilson, Joe Allard, and Nestor Coble. His professional associations include executive board member for the Pittsburgh Musician Union, the American Federation of Musicians, Music Educator National Conference, the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association, and the International Association of Jazz Educators. In August of 1997, Mr. Guerra was awarded a lifetime membership in the Pittsburgh Jazz Society. In 2013, he was named Manchester Craftsmen's Guild Jazz Legend. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please help me welcome here to the stage Mr. Jim Guerra. And there he is. Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Hi, Vito. Hi, family. Thank you for everything.
Oh, you're welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
That's good. That's good to hear. I'm glad about that. So it's great to have you on the program. And, you know, there's so many things that people are going to discover about you that, even myself, as I've gone through this process, and every guest that I have, I learned things about the guest that I didn't know, before. So it's just really interesting, and it's going to be interesting for our audience as well. So my first question to you, if I may, when did you begin studying music, and what was your first instrument, and what was your inspiration to start a musical instrument?
Well, I started around 12 years old, I believe. A little late, but clarinet was my first instrument. And when I was a kid, my cousins, Tony and Bo, had a little band. And when they came home from work, they were clean with white shirts and stuff. My whole neighborhood was pretty much Italian working class people. And when they came home from work, they were sweaty and dirty and all that stuff. They came from the mill and messed the machine, etc. But right around that same era, they had a big festival at the Italian club for August 15th. I forget what saint it's for. At 7 a.m. one morning, I'm about a half a mile away from this location. I heard the fireworks. I heard the band a half a mile away, Italian band. They came up the street. You know how they marched and they had the flags and people used to stop and drink whiskey and all that stuff. And that just knocked me right out. But the weekend of that same festival, they had a concert in the evening, and I went down to hear the band. I don't know how many people, maybe 30, maybe 40. It was big. It was so loud, I felt it. The ground shook. And I never forgot about that. They played La Gazza Ladre. I always remembered that. And I never heard that until, listen to that. Those guys are playing that. And then all the marches, all the Italian marches. And then I didn't know this word till later. Ballab was some kind of like a dance thing that they played, Italian dance music, ballabs. But I was so knocked out, I ended up getting in that band with Fred. It was Fred Del Monte's band. And I used to go to rehearsal and at an Italian club in Rankin. And that's where I learned a lot of things, how to play. And everybody was so into it. It was wonderful. That's all I can say.
Great.
It was just wonderful.
First of all, I knew Tony and Bo. We on the circuit a lot, so I knew who they were. And when I first met them, I had no idea that Bo was your cousin. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But Tony's still alive. Bo passed away, but Tony was a pretty good accordionist too.
Accordion, and that was
Quarter Vox. That was the one I think he had.
I was 13 years old. I got my first quarter Vox. That's right.
His father was a good musician. Well, my personal family was not too involved in music, but the whole neighborhood was, and that was part of it. It was in your blood, Yeah. Simple as that.
I remember playing a lot of weddings at the Mona Lisa in Whitehall. I
know exactly where that is.
They played at the bar. So after we finished the wedding, we'd go in and have a couple of drinks and listen to Tony and Bo. I mean, that was what we did,
51 in Brownsville Road.
Right, yeah. Ted Pace, the guy that owned that place.
Mona Lisa.
But memories and memories, So I know that you went to the Berklee School of Music.
Yes.
And then you also ended up in the U.S. Navy, and you were in the Navy show band.
Yes.
Could you tell me the circumstances, how that all came about, and maybe even Berklee?
I started at Duquesne, and it didn't go over too well because I was trying to play jazz in a practice room, and that didn't go over too well. I don't want to elaborate on that, but now it's completely different. So I went to Berklee, and real quick story there. Mr. Jones was my first harmony teacher. I didn't even know what a chord was. I didn't even think I knew what a triad was. Make a long story short, his name was Mr. Jones. It ended up being Quincy Jones. I didn't know that until 10 years later. And he never had a syllabus. He never had a book. All he did was smoke cigarettes and talk. And there was nothing he didn't know. I just still remember that. It's still amazing. But anyway, I got drafted. When you were in college and kept you out of the Army or you were getting drafted, I got drafted 3 days after 3 or 4 days after I graduated, and ended up in the Navy.
Okay.
Audition, and they had an audition for the Navy show band, and they needed someone to play Barry and piccolo, and I could play Barry. I didn't know anything about the piccolo, but I was able to play the piccolo at a reasonable way. And one of the things I didn't know about piccolo was that the Navy had at least 4 or 5 piccolos in 4 or 5 different keys. So if you didn't like the key, just change the piccolo. Yeah,
How easy
and
is
it's
that?
funny that one of my people I had not deal with, but study with or whatever, was Tony Deanny, who was Nancy Deanny's, who's famous in Pittsburgh, brother.
His brother, yeah.
Yeah,
And you studied with him when you were in the Navy?
just
Navy.
a little bit. He actually, I don't want. No, we played together. I'll use that word.
Yeah. I actually have a couple of pictures I want to put up here when you were in the Navy. Here's one right here. Can you tell me about this picture?
Yeah, that's the Navy show band. That's the original one. That's,
Okay.
I don't know when that started, but the leader there in front, that's Frank Forgione. He was a drummer, and he started that band, and all the main purpose was goodwill tours. And I went to South America with that band twice, 5 months once and 5 months again. We went from left to right and then right to left.
This here is an article about you going to South America. You played all over South America, huh?
Yeah, many all over the place. As a matter of fact, in Rio de Janeiro, I went up on Sugarloaf. I don't know if you know what that's, that big stone. And you take a car up there. You could see the Corcovado statue from there.
Oh, yeah. I know the statue. Yeah.
And then once in a while, when we had a little time off, not to keep talking, but we used to go out at night once in a while to hear bands. You might be a 10-piece band with a trumpet and 9 percussion. You'd see bands like that in South America. That's not a joke.
Like Gypsy Kings, you know.
That's just what they had.
Guitars and percussion. And so you told me that you played in every country except Uruguay. Is that it?
Exactly right. Uruguay. It's the only one we didn't go to.
Every other country in South America you covered.
Yeah. And there's a funny story here. I think I get this correct. I think we went to somewhere in Peru. And it might have been Cusco, Peru. I can't remember the name. But the Navy band never went there before until I was in the band. We went up there. They landed, and the altitude was so high, they canceled the job till the next day because the band couldn't play. It was about 10,000 feet. Yeah, they couldn't know. You got to wait till adapt to the.
Couldn't breathe, huh? Hard to play. Yeah.
Well, I just know they got a day off.
That's funny. Okay. So I have a picture here. I know that you played at the Civic Light Opera Orchestra for many years, and you've played over 100 shows with them.
Yeah, it's true.
And then when you add all the shows that you did for different artists that came into the city of Pittsburgh, you played, you got hired to play for a whole ton of, I mean, well over 100 shows that you did. And I want to put this picture up. This is interesting to me because I know some of these guys. I see my late friend Evan Broman back there in the very tail back there. And next to him, Glenn Whalen, bass trombone. And then who else is in that picture, Jim? You know,
in the front row, the second and third person, that's me and Nestor Koval.
The glasses, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
Did I say anything about how I started with Nestor?
No, but I do have a picture with him right here. You and Nestor, he's playing clarinet.
Yeah, I'll tell you where that is. That's in Chet Sporney's backyard. Some guy named Chet Sporney. He played the saxophone. But my cousin Bo studied with Nestor. Okay. And I studied with Bo for a few months, and Bo he said, you got to go on, you got to move forward. So he hit me to Nestor because he was Nestor's first student after Paris. So I had lessons with Nestor at Catilia's Furniture in Homestead, PA, with the washers and dryers. It was $1.50. It was $1.50 a lesson. He taught me quite a bit. It was eye-opening because there was no false information.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I'm correct, Nestor Koval was the first American to graduate from the Paris Conservatory. Is that right?
That's true. That's exactly true. Yeah, he could play. When I first heard him play, I was just scared. Scared. I didn't understand how he could play like that.
Yeah.
He was dedicated. He lived it.
I got to work with Nestor my senior year at Duquesne University. He was going to be our guest soloist for the Mideast Performance Conference. And he asked me, he had heard my junior year, heard me play, our band play my concerto for band. And right after the concert, he came up and grabbed me and he said, would you be willing to write a piece? I'm going to play with the band next year at Mideast. Would you be willing to write a piece for soprano, saxophone, and band? Because he said there's not a lot of repertoire for that, and I'd like to play soprano sax. So I wrote a piece called Rhapsody for Soprano, Saxophone, and Band, and he, of course, premiered it. And that was my senior year at Duquesne University. That was at Mideast. So I got to work with Nestor a little bit too, not as teaching me how to play a woodwind instrument, but working with him on that composition. So it was fun. He was a great musician. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Somewhere in my basement, I have a copy of that. Your piece with him playing it. I don't know if it's on CD I don't think it's CD. It might be a cassette or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So getting back to the CLO for a second, I want to play something. I know that you played a lot of shows, and I remember being at your home and several times, and in your studio, I mean, the walls of your studio are filled with pictures of all the shows that you played and all the artists you played for over the years. A lot of them are signed, autographed by the artists. And I think, first of all, I want to say that you had a great vision in order to, think about saving all of those moments and all those pictures and the covers of all of those musicals that you played for. I mean, a lot of musicians, including myself, played a lot of things, but we never really documented it that way, the way you did. And I just think that was outstanding, the way you did that in your studio. So I put together a little montage of these songs are all of your originals, and those three albums that I mentioned, Hold Me, the music of Jim Guerra, and of course, Along Came Mitch. So they're all in there. And then as I'm playing bits and pieces of these songs, I asked your wife, Pat, to take pictures of your walls of your studio. So, just to get an idea of all the, to take people into your studio, take this audience into your studio and see what I saw. I call this the Jim Guerra Wall of Fame right here. And there you go, huh?
Oh, wow.
Quite a, quite a
Well,
little.
while I remember, that's just, I appreciate all your work. That's just,
Oh,
and
you're
while I
welcome.
remember your jazz solo with the accordion, you did what Roger Humphreys, who's probably the greatest jazz musician I know personally, said the main objective is to talk when you play jazz. And when you played your solo, if you listen, they're talking to you while you're playing with the music. They're filling in the little spaces you have and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was wonderful beats. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. You're talking. Wow.
Yeah.
And one more thing, while I remember, one of the first times I played CLO was with Nestor.
Okay.
And on the break, a couple guys on the break would say, "Man, Jimmy, you sound really good. You sound just like Hank Mobley." And Nestor come over and said, "If you keep sounding like Hank Mobley, your ass will get fired." So I learned real fast that you got to play what they want to hear.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Exactly. No, they said you keep playing sounding like Hank Mobley, your ass will be fired.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a fact.
Yeah. That's the way you learn, right?
Oh, you kidding?
Okay.
Look at that.
So this picture right here. Well, actually, I wanted to look at this. I think we did that picture. This one here.
This is interesting, though. That's
What
Don
is that?
Ellico Sr. in that picture. Jim
Us.
Gurman, myself. The trumpet player is John Wilson. The trombone player is one of them. You can't see the faces, Joe Dallas. And I remember the other guy now. That's Eric Richards.
Okay.
Eric Richards became a very fine educator and a player.
And that's part of the Pittsburgh Jazz Society. Is that what that was?
Yeah, that was over at Foster's in Oakland. They had jazz on Sundays there for many years. I think it's gone now.
Mhm.
Look at that. I got black hair. John Wilson had black hair. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
What do you guess that year was when that picture was taken?
Probably in the 80s.
80s.
That's a
yeah.
guess. I don't know. I would guess that.
Look at this picture here. There's John Wilson standing there conducting. And was that his big band? Was that his band?
That was just a concert band in downtown. I'll tell you where that is. I think it's Gateway Center. I think. I ain't positive. But I could see in that picture George Clore. I could see Tony Gallo. I can see Gary Pica. I can see Dick Hiller, Skip McCullough, Danny Kahn. I can't see the rest of them. That's just John Wilson. Look. John was I was lucky to meet John later in my music because I was not educated, but mature enough to understand what he was talking about. He became my filter. Jimmy, I still remember the first line, and why did you play A? This is about 2 months later. Why did you play that A natural on that chord? It was like, that's where it started from. It's just like he's right, and I better start listening more.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it is.
I just want to mention that, I know that, we talk about you being an educator and teaching privately, and you taught many students privately, including my son Vito, taught him on saxophone, and my daughter Gina clarinet. And then I taught both of your boys, both Colin piano and Jason in the string program in the school district.
I appreciate all that.
Jason was at first a cello player, and then I gave him his first bass lesson, I think, when
That's
he was
exactly true.
Sixth grade, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your teaching experiences and going, teaching at, ultimately you ended up at the Kappa School, which was the Pittsburgh City's performing arts school. So tell us a little bit about your teaching experience, partner.
Pretty fortunate to study with some really professional people over the years, and my first teaching job was at Duquesne from John Wilson. When Nestor Koval retired from Duquesne, John became the woodwind chair, and he hired me. And I thought, why do you can't hire me? I don't have any paper. I didn't have enough paper. He said, you just I'm hiring you for a while. And I stayed there for at least 10 years. And teaching is, when everybody's hooked up with it, like the teacher and the student, it's just a magnificent thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I went to Kappa, maybe 5 years after Duquesne, maybe whatever it was, they had auditioned a lot of people. And on the final interview, the guy who's principal, his name was Ron Thornhill, very nice man. Why should I hire you? I said, I don't know. All I can tell you is that I have 2 cars, 2 kids, a mortgage, and blah, 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 and play music. And he said, sign here. I stayed there for about almost 20 years.
I need the gig, huh?
Well, yeah, I need the gig, but the gig, my gigging makes the money. It's not my paper.
For sure. And okay, so I want to show you a picture here. I actually used this picture in one of the early montage, and it was taken after a recording session at my home in my studio. Of course, this is in the Cantina di Vita, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Who these folks are? Well, I see you and Jason.
That's my son Jason. That's me. That's you. That's Roger Humphreys and David Cutler. That's in your wine cellar.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the finest locations on the planet.
David Cutler was teaching at Duquesne at the time, and he left there. I don't know where
he left a long time. I haven't communicated at all with him since then.
Oh, is that
he
right?
was a magnificent player.
Yeah, very, very fine player. Yeah, yeah. That was a lot of great times.
That might be from the song "Along Came Mitch" right there. I think that's the band.
Okay.
The song "Along Came Mitch."
Yeah, right. And let me ask you a question, Jim. So if you had to pick, and I know this is tough, but if you had to pick a highlight in your career, or maybe a couple highlights, what do you think? What would you think?
Oh, wow. I guess my biggest highlight is earning respect from my fellow players. That's the highlight of everything. It's not like playing with some big name, which I did a lot of that, and I don't know, just to be accepted. I think the highlight, when I received the award for Jazz Legends, there was 5 of us that year. If I remember, it was Al Dow, it was Etta Cox, it was me, it was Kenny Blake, and someone else. No, maybe that was it. Just a wonderful thing being chosen from your people, from the people in the field, not from like a survey.
Yeah,
the highlight may be this for me. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to put it up. This is a picture. I'll try to see if I can get that right. That's a picture of Tony Bennett in the Golden Gate Bridge. I played Tony 5 or 6 times. I got him to sign this twice. If you look, he signed it a long time ago, and then 10 years later he came and I got him to sign it again, and I waited, and he wrote my name wrong. I waited in the back. You can sign this. He wrote dear to Tim. I said, oh, Tony, my name is not Tim, it's Jim. That's it. He put that heart over the wrong name and put my name on the side.
There you go. Put the heart. He put that heart. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what he said? What he said before he signed the paper?
Huh.
You want to drink a wine? He had his own red wine all the time.
Is that right?
That's a fact. Yeah. And the reason you said you admire me, not admire why I have these pictures. When I started to play, there was no phones. Nobody had a phone to take a picture. All the people stayed after the gig, and these people signed things. So I said, I might as well get a couple here and there. But I regret not staying for more other people. But anyway, I got what I got.
You got a lot. I know that.
Well, the highlight is knowing the people in the field. That's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And also, before we remember, I appreciate you putting all those names in there with people playing.
Players.
You had my son's names in there, Roger Humphreys, Lenny Rogers. There's a name I forgot about for a while. Rick Dowler is in one of those. I forgot about that. John Wilson's last recording ever was in your basement. And the last recording also on that recording was John D'Amico. He passed away days after that.
Yeah.
You in your basement is the last recorded trumpet solo of Dr. John Wilson.
Wow.
That's a history. To me, it's a memory because I got it on tape.
Because of you, I had some really great players in there. I mean, those guys you just mentioned, Sean Jones was in there, played.
Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, on the Hold Me album, there's 28 people on it.
Yeah.
And not to keep talking, but Tony Gallo is in that picture.
Yeah, I remember.
I met Tony Gallo at Alderdice. The band director was Henry D. Pasquale. You got to meet Anthony Gallo. So I took lessons from Mr. Gallo after school for a few times at Alderdice. I can't remember. I think it was $2.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tony Gallo was the fastest clarinet player I ever heard in that era.
Wow.
He could play. We were still wonderful friends.
Yeah. And how about your friendship with a guy named, God rest his soul, Evan Broman?
Oh, there's no one better. There's no one better than Evan. And he was a friend and a neighbor. I met Evan when I came back from the service. I got a job part-time driving a school bus, Earl Williams bus. And I got some extra deliveries or extra runs. They gave me some band runs, and he was the band director. And the first thing Evan Broman ever said to me, I said, "Hi, Evan, I'm a musician." And he said, "Yeah, everybody's a drummer." That's the first thing he ever said to me.
Everybody's a drummer. That's
And I always teased him. I said, "Yeah, later on, when you had to play some solos, you sure got to my home real fast." No better person.
No,
I don't know if I know a better person.
He was my mentor, and of course, when I student taught, he was one of my two.
He's a fine player too. In his own world, the world he could play, he was very fine at it.
He was that lead trombone in that CLO orchestra for those shows. He had the perfect sound. He had the right everything about that, you know.
And that's one thing I'm not. You said something interesting there that every gig has its details, and it's hard to be a lot. You wear a lot of hats, and sometimes it's a hard thing to wear all the hats and be good at it.
When I started recording and everything, you know, I appreciated having sound engineers with me because I mean, that's a whole nother world. And there are guys, that's their thing, and that's what they're skilled in. And you know, I never did a recording without having a sound engineer with me. And even after 1986, I think around that time, I started using engineers with my band live because when you're doing that, you know, and every room that you play in is another challenge. You know, they're not all the same. And you've got different acoustics and different setups and different. Oh, I remember one time we played a gig and Ed Dukestein was our engineer at the time, and it was a country club, but it was packed. I mean, they must have used every table and chair they had. And whatever the event was, you know, it was a big Christmas ball or whatever. And we had such little space. We had to put Ed Dukestein in a closet that night. He literally was in a closet to have the board and everything running the band from a closet. I mean, you just never know. Every situation is completely different, and that's the way it was. Now, when you play like with the CLO orchestra, you're down in the pit, and for the most part, I mean, you're in a situation where it's the same every time you play a show, you know, and acoustically, and of course they had engineers there as well. But you know, when you play with a band and you're doing club dates and you're going out every weekend or so many shows a weekend and they're all different joints, that's a challenge, you know.
It helped me a lot in your home with recordings. MacGyver.
Oh yeah, we called him MacGyver.
He's got trouble.
Yeah, he was on the show already. Yeah, he's an amazing guy. He's a terrific. The only
thing negative about recording to me, not in my own situation, was not right away, but later on with certain shows downtown, if they wanted to harp on you, they taped you they taped your mistakes.
Is that right? Ooh.
That's come on, it's hitting below the belt because everybody makes a mistake.
Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, all the time, right?
Yeah, I make them like every 5 minutes. As a matter of fact, I always said I cheated away through a lot of music.
Yeah, you know, very late in life, I started golfing, and yeah, I mean, yeah, right, Mr. Athlete here, you know. But anyhow, I started golfing, and then I started watching golf on TV, and it was interesting to me because it was like music. These golfers, the pros, the guys that knew what they were doing,
Same thing.
if they hit a bad shot, and they did, every one of them hit a bad shot occasionally, but they recovered instantly. They didn't rattle them. It didn't shake their game. Didn't change their game. If I hit a bad drive, the rest of the hole was over. I mean, I was not recovering from that. But in music, if I made a mistake, and I made plenty in my life, you know, you recover quickly, and you're able to move it on. So I want to put this as a last picture up here. This is great talking with you, Jim. You have so many stories. And I appreciate it. I bet you could probably talk for another 2 days.
Yeah.
Right.
I should write a notebook, but I don't.
Oh yeah, you talked momentarily about this. I think this is a great honor for you in 2013, and you were named by the Manchester Craftsman Guild as their jazz legend for that year.
Yeah, there was 5 of us. The other name I forgot was Michelle Benson that year. It was year 2013.
Sure.
And to be picked out, it was just wonderful. One of the songs, Solar, you played back.
Yeah.
Marty Ashby runs this place. He's on the recording you just played with me and on Solar. When he called to tell me you won this award, I thought he was pulling my leg. I said, yeah, you're full of shit, Marty. What the hell are you doing? What's going on? Why are you telling me this shit? I hate to use a bad word there, but he said, no, it's a fact. He said, they all picked you. It was some kind of committee.
Yeah, that's quite an honor. Yeah.
It's amazing. There's a lot of things about it that a lot of people weren't chosen because of a lot of different reasons. You got to live here. I don't know all the reasons. I'm just so happy they picked me. That's about it.
That's great, and congratulations on that.
Okay.
And congratulations on a wonderful career, Jim. I mean, you did a lot. You know, I know what that's like. I mean, because I did a lot in my life, and teaching and playing and doing everything that comes down the pike. You know, never ask any questions. Go, where is it? What time? Where? Let's go. You know?
Exactly, and I appreciate that. It'd be harder today than when I was younger. What I do, I mean, my kind of like sideman player, reader, it's kind of dwindling away a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's a totally different world, and unfortunately, the young musicians today don't have those opportunities that you and I had, and our friends that were our age and grew up in that era. You know? And I always said I was lucky because I came in the tail end of it. I wish I would have grown up in the big band era.
Oh, so all of us do, because it was just full of it.
That would have been, you know, but I missed it by 10 years, you know. But, it was great having you on the program, and appreciate it. And
it's wonderful, man.
Yeah, well, you take care. And, you know, I got to tell you, just keep the garlic coming. You know, that's important. Every once in a while, I get a little box in the mail from Jim Guerra. I open it up, and there's a couple heads of garlic grown in your garden. I love it.
It's old. I don't know how old it is. I really don't. It could be as old as me. It came from the family, and then my cousin Tony kept it going, and he gave it to me. It's just you have to keep it going. I sent it to a few people. You're one. The other one is I sent it to one of the singers in the New York Voices.
Oh wow! Is that right?
New York Voices. I used to play a little bit with them, and I gave her a clove of garlic, and she's Lebanese, I believe. I like that. I'm a garlic person. Every year I send her some garlic, and every Christmas we get a big cake in the mail, like from his fancy bakery.
Oh, that's nice.
It's just no, it's a thing. If I can have like one more minute, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Go ahead. We are at 49.
It's a whole bunch of people.
Oh, that's big. Yeah.
All these people. This is before cell phones, but I counted 27 people on there that left town. I don't know if you ever heard of Wayne Shorter wrote a song called "Lester Left Town." Wayne Shorter is a famous composer.
Sure.
When Lester Young passed away, he wrote a song called "Lester Left Town" on that day. So I want to just read this a minute.
Okay.
If you don't mind. These people all left town are on this picture. Nestor Koval, Jack Purcell, Cecil Busby, Carl McVicker Jr., Dave LaRocca, Don DePaulis, Dick Hiller, Danny Kahn, Joe Dallas, Dr. John Wilson, Randy Purcell, Rick Minoz, Jimmy Steen, Howard Hartman, Benny Benack Sr. I might be the only person still left that played for all three Benny Benacks, Senior, Junior, and the new one. Joe Campus, Bobby Negri, Bobby Boswell, Vince Ventresca, Eddie George, Frank Ostrowski, there's a name, Ted Zach, Evan Broman, Chuck Laputsky, Earl Summers, David Pica, and Jerry Dantry. I didn't know if you knew Jerry Dantry. He lived.
I knew him quite well, actually. Yeah.
There's a story I have to. It's the most amazing story. One is, I was in the band when they had a tribute to. Who wrote the lyrics for West Side Story? Sondheim.
Yeah, Stephen Sondheim.
Stephen Sondheim. He had a thing, and Jerry's a pianist. They're having a rehearsal, and during the rehearsal, the conductor's hollering at Jerry, "Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that?" So he finally, the conductor said, "Is there anything I can do to help you?" You know what Jerry said? "Do you have any music?"
You're kidding.
No, he didn't give him the music. And he's trying to figure, and that conductor just, he just laughed. That's a true story.
Wow.
Do you have any music?
That's funny. Yeah, no, I did know Jerry Dantry, and knew that he was the rehearsal pianist for the CLO for many years. Chuck Laputsky, he passed too. Was he a viola player?
He played violin and viola, mostly violin, I believe. Chuck, what a gentleman! Yeah.
I remember him. I think I knew all of the people that you mentioned.
It's just
on that photo that you showed, all of those people were on there, and all of them left town except you. You're the only one that.
No, it's a couple more people on there. I'm just saying.
Oh, I see.
People, there's other people, but they're gone.
Yeah.
It's just wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Frank Ostrowski just passed not that long ago.
Yeah, Frank. Oh, amazing. He had amazing careers. All these people. Randy Purcell, Jack Purcell.
Yeah.
All these. Yeah. Vito DeSalvo.
So far. Every day's a blessing and every day's a challenge. Right.
So we're on the verge of shutting this off, I believe, right?
I'm sorry.
It's near the end here.
Yeah. If you have
I appreciate you doing. You're aiding the music community with this. It's helping the community of music. That's very good, Vito.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, yeah.
Let me just tell you real quick how I came up with the idea. Just like everybody that we know, I mean, everybody had wonderful careers in music, and teaching, playing. You did whatever you had to do, writing, arranging, whatever. And, all of that came to a crashing halt for me because when I played the accordion for so many years, it just destroyed a lot of my joints. I have, so many prostheses in me because of that. But anyways, I'm sitting in the chair in the living room, and I'm thinking about one night about everything that I did. And I thought, all I have is the memories of what I did. I start thinking back about some of the gigs that I played and all the people that I worked with and different things. And you know what? It came to my mind that everyone that I know, every musician, and I knew a lot of musicians from around the world. In fact,
Sure.
I have a guy from South Africa that's going to be on the show that
Good.
I toured through South Africa with him. He's a bass player. I have a young lady that lives in Perth, Australia. She's going to be a soprano, a great opera singer, sang at the Met, sang in Sydney all the time. I mean, she's going to be on the show. I have people from around the world, and then so many musicians, and a lot of them are in the same position that I am, where, for one reason or another, not playing very often or very much, and they have a lot of stories to tell and a lot of memories. So I thought, perfect thing. Let's do a little program. In today's world, we can use the computer. It doesn't matter where they're living or where they are.
Yes, it is.
And it brings a lot of, like you said, it's good for the whole music community.
It is. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Yep. Well, by the way, you make the best raviolis I ever ate.
Well, thank you. I'm going to be making some next week.
That's one of my weaknesses.
All right,
well, maybe that's between you and your wife. I better watch what I say there.
Yeah, that's right. She makes the filling, I make the dough, and then she puts them all together. It's a team. Yeah, we've been a good team throughout the years. So anyhow, just like you and Pat, same thing. You have a great evening, and again, thank you for being on the show.
All the way. Thank you completely.
All right, Jim. You have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
And there we have another episode of Memories of a Musician with Jim Guerra as our guest. And next week, I have another interesting guest. Terrific jazz performer. His main instrument is vibraphone, vibes. His name is Jerry Tashwar. And Jerry, I knew when he was a young boy, a student at West Mifflin Middle School. Junior high back then. This was before middle school. And Jerry graduated from West Mifflin South, the same school I did. However, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years after me. But he was, again, this fellow went to Berklee School of Music, studied vibes with Gary Burton. And so he's a terrific player. His wife is a composer and composes the majority of the music that he plays. So we're going to have Jerry on as a guest next week, next Wednesday. So be sure to watch out for that and tune in to our show. So you guys all have a great evening, and I'm going to sign off now, and we'll talk to you soon.